From Chelsea Handler's Chelsea Chelsea Bang Bang, Chapter 4, Dudley. Every once in a while I like to send out an all-staff email to find out who the dumbest people working on my show are. The email below is something I asked my assistant to devise based on the fact that we still had a doctor's table for a skit we did on the show called Dr. Lately. Since production had paid to rent the table and we still had it for a few days, I thought it made perfect sense to get our money's worth and see how many people would believe that a gynecologist was coming in to perform a couple of pap smears. Here's what Eva sent out to the staff. Hi there, Dr. Clara, MD, will be here on Tuesday, April 14th from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. She is available for individual consultation and will be setting up 20 to 30-minute appointments on stage 2. Dr. Clara is dedicated to providing outstanding care for patients needing pap smears, adolescent medicine, gynecology, infertility, high-risk obstetrics, STD testing, and questions relating to male and female health overall. Space is limited, so please email me if you would like to schedule an appointment. She will also be providing the appropriate garments for any examinations. Prices and copay vary depending on insurance, and for more information on Dr. Clara, MD, and her practice, visit westlosAngeleswomenscare.com. Thanks. I had Eva CC my boyfriend Ted on the email so that he could be aware of how I was spending my day, especially since he also happens to be the CEO of the network that my show is on. Ted's office is in a different building from ours, so we are essentially unsupervised and generally unproductive. Ted, instead of realizing that this was obviously a joke, responded with this email to Eva. Don't say anything yet to CH, but having outside doctor in is a problem as outlined below. I'm going to try to help here, but at the very least the doctor is going to have to sign a letter indemnifying us. Generally speaking, this is something we would suggest we avoid and not do on our premises, but it also seems as if the wheels have already been put in motion, so we need to consider how to handle that as well. ... Below is the email Ted received from his legal team later that day, which he forwarded to Eva. Here are 2 preliminary concerns. There may be an expressed or implied endorsement of this particular physician by us, taking such an active role in setting her appointments and allowing her to conduct those appointments on premises, most specifically pap smears. If the company is perceived as endorsing this physician, do we take on the liability for anything this physician does, including a misdiagnosis? Second concern is that if there is any medical treatment actually taking place on our premises, are we covered for that from an insurance perspective? I am checking on these specifically with outside counsel and we'll get back to you soon. I can tell you most definitely that any fertility treatments raise a red flag. As soon as I finished reading the email, I picked up the phone and called Ted. Do you really think that I'm going to have girls in our office go down to stage 2 on their lunch break for a quick vagina assessment? Chelsea, Ted. Jesus, Chelsea. He put his phone down and yelled, "It's a joke. There's no gynecologist. It's Chelsea being an asshole again." Ted, I said, did you even read that email that Eva sent? It said the doctor would be available for male-female health-related questions. What gynecologist services men? Either you're a gynecologist or you aren't. You're not a man doctor for women. How would I know that? Because you're a man. Have you ever been to a gynecologist? I can't believe I fall for this shit. I thought I was being nice by including you in the joke, and now the joke is on you. Not the 2 girls on staff who have already booked their appointments. Oh my god, I know. Are you gonna film it? I hadn't gotten that far because there was a little bump in the road named Ted. Chelsea, I don't have time for this shit. Now I have to go clear this up. Ted, the email also said individual concentration. It's consultation. What the hell is an individual concentration? Well, I don't know what you girls do in your appointments, Chelsea. That cost us money. You're paying the legal fees. We had to hire outside counsel. Yes, I know. That's why I'm calling. I assume you know that I wouldn't be doling out fertility treatments on a fake doctor's table at the studio. That is something you would do. Really? Yes, you're fucking crazy, and you would do something like that, and you're paying the legal bills. I'd be happy to. Good, we'll send you the bill. Good, I'd like to frame it and put it in my office. In true Ted form, he was not in on the joke, which is basically the foundation of our relationship. No matter how much time goes by, I am still able to make him believe stories that no one who has completed high school would believe. On separate occasions, I've convinced him that I paid $16,000 for a pair of sunglasses that I donated $10,000 to a charity that helps prevent pit bulls from being forced to wear rhinestone collars, and that a pair of my shoes came with 2 Swiss Army knives under the soles. The jokes are never well thought out plans, more like happy accidents that just pop into my head when I look out the window. That is exactly what happened a few weeks later when Dudley came into our life. My agents at the time wanted to throw a little congratulatory party celebrating a new deal I had signed. One of them was named John, and he was a rather unusually muscular gay man who lived with an even more unusually muscular gayer man and shared with him an English bulldog named Dudley. Their house was in the Hollywood Hills and was decorated the exact way you would expect a couple of gay bear millionaires living in the Hollywood Hills to decorate. Very masculine, very expensive, and a lot of lubrication. The house was filled with beautiful art and had a very modern but luxuriously comfy feel, like a resort. A resort with a prison shower the size of a mosh pit and enough waterfalls for a stranger to slip into another stranger's asshole without a moment's notice. In other words, the kind of spa 2 gay bears from the Hollywood Hills would like to run. There were only about 9 of us at the little soiree. Ted, 2 of my agents, John and Claire, my attorney, Jake, my partner, Tom, and his wife, Beth, and Eva, my assistant. I planted myself on the sofa and was talking to Beth and Eva when Dudley sauntered over with his ass in the air the way only an English bulldog can do. Dudley was a dick from the word go. He was sniffing around the hors d'oeuvres while simultaneously licking my uncovered leg, so I immediately gave him a fried ravioli. The setback occurred when Dudley thought the fried ravioli was accompanied by the black cocktail napkin it was on, both of which he demolished with little or no struggle from me. I did make a moderate attempt to save the napkin, but after one overly aggressive tug from Dudley, I decided it would make less of a scene. I just gave the napkin to him rather than get down on my knees and wrestle a bulldog. I felt I had maybe made the wrong decision when I looked at Eva, who was staring at the dog, horrified, as the last corner of the napkin disappeared. I think we should tell them that their dog just swallowed a napkin, she said, getting up. I pulled her down to her seat. No, it's fine. I give napkins to dogs all the time. Ted walked over to us just as Dudley was ready for more, and I told him what happened. Oh, he'll be fine, he said. It's just a napkin. It was a 4-ply napkin, Eva told him. Okay, cool it, I told her, glaring. It's fine. I didn't know I had hired a vet. I mumbled loudly enough for her to hear. Those dogs can eat anything, Ted said, dragging me by the arm. Come on, Chelsea, I found another waterfall. Dudley, of course, was hot on my tail from then on, knowing he had found an ally. I hope the dog doesn't throw up. At least, well, we're here, I told Ted, as he pulled me outside into a scene out of a Costa Rican bathhouse, but classier. We have to get the name of their designer, he exclaimed with a little too much excitement. This guy is a genius. You can put waterfalls wherever you want. Ted, we live in a condo. This compound is more along the lines of an anal jungle. We can't just rip out our roof and stare at the moon. I can find out where we can get those little glow-in-the-dark stars and glue them to the ceiling. Then you can go off. Well, we can think of something. This is amazing. What does it smell? It's Dudley, I lied. It's the napkin. Actually, I'd farted, but I sensed an opening in my path, and not yet knowing in which direction it was headed, I had to leave all options open. Is it okay to give a dog shellfish? I asked. Is that what you gave him? Yeah, that crab thing they were passing around. I don't know, but don't give him any more. I don't think dogs can eat crab, he said, grimacing at Dudley. Come to the bathroom. I want to show you this bidet I want us to get. I've seen 3 bidets in 15 minutes. I'm good. Gosh, it reeks. What the hell kind of napkin was that? The crab was wrapped in butter lettuce. Maybe that's it. Ooh, that sounds good. I'm going to go grab one. On the way home that night, I mentioned Dudley once more in the car and then let it go. I had to figure out my game plan of where I was going to take this little doozy of a story. I can still smell Dudley's farts, Ted declared as we descended a hill so steep that the only safe form of transportation would have been a rickshaw. It's not Dudley anymore, it's me. Was it you the whole time? Yes. Maybe you're allergic to shellfish. In the car on the way to work the next morning, I heard my phone ring and saw that it was Ted. I picked up and started wailing. John's assistant just called. The dog died after we left last night. No. Yes. I heaved into my steering wheel, which I mistakenly believed held my speaker. Oh my gosh, you're kidding me, right? Do I sound like I'm kidding, Ted? I haven't spoken to him yet, but Eva just called and told me his assistant called. She's calling everyone at the party. Oh my gosh. Do you think it was a napkin? It had to have been. Or the shellfish, I reminded him. Oh my gosh. Do not tell anyone that you gave him the napkin or the shellfish. Who else was there when you gave it to him? He demanded. It was just Eva and Beth. Okay, just don't tell anyone else that was there. Do not tell anyone, Chelsea. Do you understand me? I don't feel comfortable asking Eva to lie for me if I killed a dog. Did she sign her confidentiality agreement? Yes, but she didn't see when I fed Dudley. She just saw the tail end of him eating the napkin. I'll say it was one of those raviolis. Okay. I felt a new wave of fake tears ready to make their way through the phone just in time for me to explode. I'm a murderer, Ted. I'm a murderer. A dog murderer. I'm just like Phil Spector, minus the music career. No, Chelsea, you need to get a hold of yourself. You are not a murderer. This was an accidental dog homicide. What if they find out? No one's going to find out anything. Let me make a few calls. I'll call John to give my condolences and feel around to find out if he suspects anything. Stay strong. You did nothing wrong. This was an accident. Chelsea, I love you. Thanks, I muttered as meekly as possible and then added, his assistant said they were doing an autopsy. What? An autopsy? The dog is fucking 10 years old. They said last night they gave him open heart surgery 2 months ago. I know. That means they think something fishy happened last night. They're going to find out. I can't believe I killed someone's dog. We hung up the phone and I spent the rest of my ride into work craning my head around, trying to find out where exactly the speakerphone in my car was located. Ted's voice had sounded like it was coming straight out of the sky. I had an extra bounce in my step walking into the office that day and headed straight into Tom's office, where he was sitting with Brad, one of the writers on my show. What'd you think about that dog Dudley last night? I asked Tom as I sat down on the sofa opposite Brad. I'll tell you what I thought of Dudley, Tom said, placing his morning coffee on his desk. I believe Dudley is what 2 bears can produce when they fall madly, deeply in love under a waterfall. A cub in the shape of a bulldog that goes by the name of Dudley. Dudley. I thought that dog looked like he could take a punch in the face, and I wanted to punch him because he didn't stop farting all night. That was you, and you're a fool if you think everybody at that party didn't know it. That may be true, but that's not what I'm here to discuss. Let me tell you a little story about Dudley. Last night I fed him a ravioli, and he ate the whole napkin with it. For Ted's benefit, I later changed the ravioli to one of those crab appetizers. I spoke to Ted earlier this morning and told him that Dudley passed away last night, and they're doing an autopsy today at 3. Anyone who has seen Brad on the show knows how ridiculous looking he is, but to see him when his face turns bright red and he's unable to control his heart attack-like fits of hysteria is worth playing any practical joke on anyone. He immediately starts contorting his body and grabbing his head, and his face turns into the exact color of his ridiculous orange hair. Basically the same way a person would react during an earthquake, minus the laughter. How can he believe you? He bellowed as he started writhing on the couch. How can he believe anything you say anymore? A dog autopsy? Who the hell gets a dog autopsy? While Brad was going to what anyone walking by the office would perceive to be seizures, Tom was as cool as a cucumber. This is excellent work, Chelsea. I like what you've done here. You have to call him on speakerphone and let us listen, Brad sobbed. Cool your heels, Tinkerbell, Tom told him. This has to be thought out very carefully. You need to call all the other people that were there last night and tell them the deal. There's a lot of potential here. What's your weekend looking like? Wide open. Well, why don't we stage a little dog funeral somewhere and have our little producer, Mr. Johnny Kansas, film the whole episode? You're on Leno Tuesday night? You know how much Ted likes to be on television. This was true. As much as he pretends he hates it, Ted loves to be talked about or displayed on television. Johnny! Tom yelled. Johnny walked in and Tom asked him what his plans were for this weekend. I've got a christening on Sunday. He told us I'm free Saturday. Then Saturday it is. Where can we have the funeral? Tom asked me. Well, it'll have to be somewhere on our side of town because there's no way I'm going to drive 45 minutes for a fake funeral. How about the Santa Monica Pier? We can say we're spreading Dudley's ashes because he wanted to be cremated. Santa Monica Pier. Brad was now slamming his head on the arm of the sofa. I can't take it. I can't take it. Dog ashes at the Santa Monica Pier. Brad, pull yourself together, you fucking idiot. This is business, Tom told him. Okay, wait. You have to do the funeral after 5 so I can come. No, you can't come. You'll give it away before he even finds out, I admonished him. No, I have to be there. Brad is not coming, Johnny said, looking at him in disgust. He'll ruin everything. Brad, you're not coming, I told him again, but I will call Ted on speakerphone to tell him about the funeral, and you can listen. Not on my watch, Johnny said as he walked out. I will not be a party to this other than videotaping the funeral. Hi, sweetie, Ted said in his very melodramatic way when he picked up the phone. They're having a funeral on Saturday at the Santa Monica Pier. Brad jumped off the sofa and buried himself under Tom's desk, which had been vacated when Tom stood to shut the door. A funeral? I just got off with John and he didn't say anything about a funeral. You just got off with John? I asked, thinking I was screwed because I hadn't even spoken to John yet. And he sounded awful. I don't think he suspects anything. He just sounded terrible. I looked over at Tom, who was standing by the door, rubbing his goatee, and his eyes widened. Well, did he say anything about what might have caused it? No, he says they just had open heart surgery on the dog a few months ago, so he doesn't understand what happened. The amount of fluid you could hear coming out of Brad's body was unsettling. Luckily, the desk muffled his fits of laughter enough for Ted not to hear. I walked behind the desk and kicked him. He didn't say anything about a funeral, Chelsea. I don't think we have to go. No, his assistant is emailing everyone at the party. They want everyone who is there when he left the world to be there when he enters the ocean. That was the only line I actually had trouble delivering with a straight face, and I fumbled a little, but made a quick recovery. It's Saturday. Saturday? Yeah. Oh my gosh, I have to go to a dog funeral on a Saturday? It's at the Santa Monica Pier. At least it's not too far. This is just like Ted, to have a problem with the event as a whole, but not take issue with the idea that the dog's ashes were basically being spread off a circus fairground into the Pacific Ocean. By now the desk was vibrating, and I knew that Brad wouldn't be able to hold out much longer, so I ended the conversation with a final sniffle. "I'll call you later," I said, then hung up the phone. "Did you tell John that you were faking his dog's death?" Tom asked. "No, but he's familiar with the inner workings of this office, so he must have put two and two together." "Pretty impressive work on John's behalf. I didn't know he had it in him. I think your next move is to have Eva call John's assistant and have her send out an email asking everyone at the party if they saw Dudley eat any of the hors d'oeuvres at the party. And make sure you email Claire and Jake, just in case Ted starts calling the whole town." "Exactly," I replied while looking over at Brad, whose face had turned 2 shades darker than a lobster. "After that little desk performance, you are definitely not going to the pier," Tom told him. "Please." I walked over to Eva's desk to give her instructions on the next phase of Operation Dudley is Dead. The next email was sent by Eva a few minutes later. "Hey guys, did any of you see Dudley ingest or eat anything last night that maybe he shouldn't have? The animal doctor that is doing the autopsy asked John's assistant to find out. It's a little awkward, so she asked me if I could help." Before I even finished reading the email, my phone rang. "Did you get the email?" Ted asked me. "Yes. They know it's me." "No, they do not. They're gonna find out when they do the autopsy. They're gonna find the crab right next to that black napkin in Dudley's belly." "Yes, but they aren't gonna know who did it. I have to come forward." "No, Chelsea. We don't even know if the dog is allergic to shellfish. It could have been something else." "Was allergic to shellfish. Dudley is dead, Ted. We don't know that it was the shellfish. It could have been anything. Just wait until we get the autopsy results." I took a deep, loud, dramatic breath. "Chelsea," he said in the voice that a grief counselor would use with the patient attempting to do bodily harm to herself, "I have to go into a meeting now. Please don't talk to or call anyone who was at the party. Did you tell Tom?" "Yes." "Anyone else?" "Brad." "Why did you tell Brad?" "Because he saw me crying." "Oh, honey, you poor thing, sweetie. You have to remember this was an accident. The dog could have had another heart attack. We don't know it was the crab. It might just have been his time." "I'm fine. I have to go, Ted. This is all too much." A little later, Eva walked into my office to tell me that Ted had called her and made it very clear to her that she saw nothing unusual at last night's party. "He also said that you were in a very fragile state and that I should keep an eye on you." Eva told me all this with a straight face and then turned on her heel and laughed all the way back to her desk. I was impressed with the side of her and her skill set in dealing with an unexpected dog homicide. Luckily for me, it was Friday. The spreading of the ashes would be Saturday, so I'd have to go through with this charade for only one night and a morning. Needless to say, I had a terrific day planning the next day's events. I hadn't been this charged up since the presidential inauguration. On my way home from the show that evening, my attorney Jake called. "Chelsea, I was on the phone with Ted trying for 40 minutes to figure out who fed the dog what. He was trying to protect you and convince me you had nothing to do with it. This is so fucking stupid. I kept having to put the phone on mute. Are you really going to take the CEO of a cable company to a dog funeral?" "Yes, it's at the pier. Would you like to come?" "Yes, but I have my kid's soccer game tomorrow. Can't we do it on Sunday?" "How can you believe this?" "Johnny is filming and he has a christening on Sunday. Your loss." "Shit, I really want to see this." "Well, unless Ted hits me, I'll probably show it on Leno Tuesday night." "You should tell Ted that John's hiring a pet detective to put on the case." "I don't have time for shenanigans," I told Jake and hung up. When I got home, I jumped on the treadmill. As soon as Ted walked in, I texted Eva to send the follow-up email we had coordinated earlier. Hi guys, John's assistant just told me confidentially that the autopsy revealed that Dudley was allergic to shellfish, and that seems to be the culprit. Chelsea, if I recall correctly, that is not what you gave him. I'm pretty sure it was one of those raviolis. Poor guy. I liked Eva. I liked her a lot. Our treadmill is on our balcony, and Ted was standing in front of it, talking to me when he read the email. Oh dear Lord, I knew it. He went to grab my BlackBerry off the treadmill in an attempt to shield me from the horrible discovery. What? I asked as I took it back from him. It was the shellfish, he said, with his arms open for me to run into. No! This is a picture I shot with my BlackBerry of him consoling me right there and then on the balcony. It took several minutes for me to calm down, long enough to forward the picture to my team. The hysterical crying was interrupted by hysterical laughing, which I had to cover up with more fake crying, so it became a vicious circle. Luckily, it was a windy day and Ted is ridiculous. The rest of the night was more the same as I was emailing with Tom, Jake, and Brad. Brad had to pull over several times on his way to dinner just to gain composure, and Jake kept calling me from his house in the Palisades, howling, "This is the stupidest fucking joke in the world. Ted is going to dump you in the Santa Monica Bay, and I'm going to be laughing so hard. I won't be able to do anything about it." I thought you had a soccer game. I do, but I'll be laughing at the soccer game. I told him to stop calling me because I couldn't keep running out of the room. You could hear him screaming through the phone, and I'd have to jump up and scram every time it rang. "Fuck off," I repeated over and over again. Ted ran in after the third time Jake called and found me kneeling next to my bed. "Who are you telling to fuck off?" My father." Oh. I finally had to take a Lunesta to get to sleep so that I wouldn't have to face him anymore. I woke up the next morning and lay in bed thinking about the difference a day can make. So much had happened in 24 hours. So many lives had been touched. The funeral wasn't until 5, so I had to maintain my composure but keep it somewhat real by pretending I was dreading it as well. Ted had been emailing everyone at the party to see who was coming to the funeral, and he was concerned about who he'd be standing next to during the spreading of the ashes. "I'm worried I'm gonna laugh," he kept saying. "Please make sure I'm not anywhere near Tom." "Don't worry," I wanted to say. "No one else is coming, moron." But I didn't. At around 4:30, we headed to the pier. On our way down the ramp, I took a photo of the back of Ted's head and sent it off to everyone who was waiting to hear, with a caption that read, "Ted on his way to Dudley's funeral." I was texting furiously with Johnny Kansas, and he was telling me to stay on Ted's right when we got to the end of the pier. The sign we had made would be set up there on a railing. In order to capture Ted's reaction, we needed to choreograph our arrival perfectly. I realized then that I had forgotten to get flowers and texted Johnny, "We have no flowers." "Get churros," he replied. There are churro stands about every 200 feet at the Santa Monica Pier, so it felt totally natural to yell, "Ted, that's why Dudley liked the pier, the churros. He loved churros." Oh, Jesus Christ. No wonder the dog is fucking dead if he was eating fucking churros. At this point, I was starting to pee a little and kept having to grab my vagina. Luckily, it was windy, so it was easy to hide my face behind the hair being blown across it. This was beyond ridiculous, but not as ridiculous as Ted taking a bite out of one of the churros as he crossed back over to where I was. "What the hell is that?" I asked, pointing at the top of the bitten churro. "What?" he said, trying to hide the churro under his lapel. "Those are for Dudley, Ted." "But he's dead." "They wanted to spread the churros with his ashes." "Chelsea, you can't throw churros over the pier into the water. Dudley would have wanted us to have them. Come on, we're gonna be late." "Just flip that one upside down and don't take another bite." 50 yards later, we came to the end of the pier, where there were people scattered about. I immediately saw Johnny facing us, wearing a hoodie and holding a video camera. The sign was To his right, I knew that Ted's keen sense of unawareness would help him take a while to find either one, so I let him run around like a Labrador retriever for a few minutes, looking for the funeral party, while I was trying to stop my urethra from fully discharging all over the Santa Monica Pier. Once he came down from the observation deck, waving his arms in the air, saying, "We missed it. I knew we were going to be late." I got myself together enough to point to the poster. "What's that?" I asked. This was a sign we had made. In the book, there's a picture of, like, Dudley, and there's, like, a little, like, one of those little, like, when you make a cartoon of someone talking, little conversation bubble thing. It says, "Hey, Ted, exclamation mark, guess who's still alive? Question mark, exclamation mark, question mark, sucker, exclamation mark." 2 days later, I showed the video on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. I haven't played any jokes on Ted since, but Brad did try to persuade me to fake Dudley's death again a week later to see if Ted would believe it. "Say he really died this time," Brad howled.